Hey, Mark, I appreciate you taking my call here today.
You bet.
So I just watched your global grants presentation and it was super informative for a newbie grant writer like myself.
Sure.
I
Thank
do,
you.
I do have some questions that weren't covered, or maybe I missed it, but I appreciate your willingness to answer some questions for me.
My pleasure. Chances are your question, if you've got these questions, a lot of other people do as well. So let's go.
All right. So the idea that I have for a global grant involves partnering with a third party who is already has a setup for doing work in a host country. So I just don't know anything about that. Is that common to use third parties? What do I need to know about using a third party?
Yes, great question, actually. I didn't cover it. I touched on it a little bit, but the fact is, very often there is a third party involved, and that would be a non-Rotarian entity. It could be a humanitarian entity like my doctor's group that goes into these countries, and even though I'm a Rotarian, but to make the point, the doctors group is a non-Rotary entity that is a charitable entity that partners with the Rotary clubs involved that are writing the grant to fulfill certain activities that relate to that grant. And so, what if there is such a party involved, then there needs to be a memorandum of understanding, and it's a standard form that you get at Rotary International, and we'll have a hyperlink at our website that we can just link right to those forms that you need. And then it's pretty straightforward. You have to define in that the role that this third party will undertake relative to the grant, and the role that each club undertakes relative to the grant. And then there are signatures required, as you can imagine, standard administrative stuff. So yeah, it happens pretty often. It
Okay.
happens pretty often.
So my other question about that is it possible that a third party already has knowledge about the community needs to assist with the community assessment? Or is that something that we as the international partner need to do separately?
I understand. No, you'd probably, if the third party, in your case, what you're describing is that third party is in the host country. So they're going to be insiders, and you and the other Rotary Club and this third party would be putting your heads together and doing the legwork to figure out what the community assessment is. It may be that that third party, because of its activities in that community, de facto has done all that legwork for you. And if they have, that's great. That's less work that you have to do, but you would take what they give you and edit it as need be, and that goes into that section of the grant.
Okay, so there's a standard portion
Yeah,
that
there's
goes.
a standard portion. There's a standard portion.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Now, if I don't already have a relationship with somebody in the host country, and I'm not sure yet if the potential third party has a relationship with a club in the host country, what is a good way to go about establishing that kind of a relationship, figuring out which club to partner with and that sort of thing?
Right. So what you would do, the way I've gone about, the way I would recommend you go about it is that you go to the district, or you can type in, if you go to the RI website and you type in the city and the country, it will list one or more Rotary clubs that are involved, that are in that geographic area. And where possible, obviously, it only makes sense that you'd use one or more clubs in the area, the target area that you're working in or related to. And if it were me, if I had no knowledge of anybody in that club, what I would then do is that I would go to I would call RI and talk to the rep that's assigned to that part of the world, the districts in that zone and so forth, and tell them what your intent is, and ask them which club or clubs in that area have been involved in global grants that have closed, meaning approved grants that have been completed, all the paperwork's been put in and so forth, because you want to go in, with a club that is dependable. And then if there's one or more clubs there that meets that criteria, then you approach them. You either approach them as an individual club, or you approach them maybe on a conference call with this third party that exists in that you already know about, and you hash it all out.
Okay, awesome.
That would be the boots on the ground, pragmatic way that I would go about it.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time. I think those are my first questions.
Sure.
And I'm going to follow your step 1, 2, 3 of how to get started
Sure.
from your presentation. But thanks again for your time. And would it be okay if I need to contact you again with more questions? Because I'm sure they're going to come up.
No problem at all. And in fact, what I not alluded to, I flat out said in the lecture, which is, if you want one of us on that call with you and we can make the time, why not? Why not? Especially if it's an area of service that we have particular experience in. So I've done more than just healthcare and disease prevention, but you know, that's where I live because of the grants I've written. And if it were water project, there's somebody else. Marion Goldwasser does that, and so forth. Well, any of us can help you. All right.
All right. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Take care.
All right.